Welcome back. This is lesson 2, part 3, and in this lesson we are going to discover the formulas for putting the eyelids on the eyeball. So let's get started. Okay, let's take a look at the way the eyelids fit over the eyeball. For this lesson I'm going to be using a red wax pencil, a graphite pencil, and my eraser. So the first thing we're going to do here is draw a circle. I'm going to start with the red pencil, and then I'll do the final rendering with the graphite pencil, just to keep everything nice and clear. Now you may notice a light blue circle template on my paper. I use that to make sure that the perspective distortion of the camera is under control. That way you guys get as clear a drawing as you can get. Alright, so as always we're going to start with a circle. We're going to divide that circle in half on the vertical and horizontal. Now we know that the pupil goes right in the center. And then if we take the space from center, divide it in half on all of these 4 quadrants, we can draw the iris. And so that gives us the basic construction of the eyeball. So now to place the lids, what I want to do here is I'm going to go ahead and put this circle in a box. And then from this corner to this corner, I'm going to connect a diagonal through the center. Now this diagonal is going to allow us to place the eyelids. The eyelids have a high point and a low point, and so that diagonal is where that high point and that low point are going to be located. So to draw the eyelid, what we're going to do is we're going to start here on this horizontal center line. Now let's not forget that this horizontal center line also represents the horizontal center of our skull from top to bottom. And so the placement here is congruent with the horizontal center line of the entire head from the top of the head to the bottom of the head. So now, in order to place this eyelid, what we're going to do is we are going to start here on this horizontal center line. We are going to sketch a line that connects to a point right about here. So if I translate a point from the top of the iris to this diagonal that we've drawn, that's the point that I am after, that I'm heading for. So we're going to cut off part of the iris as we make this line for the lid, and we're just going to go and connect to that point, just like that. Now this point represents the high point of the eyelid. And so in this initial phase, in this construction phase, we're going to keep these lines fairly straight, and then we'll smooth them out and curve them out as we add the graphite pencil. So now from this point, what I need to do is I need to just kind of dive below that center line to the outside of that box. Now the tear duct actually fits right here, just underneath the horizontal center line. And so from this point, we're going to connect down to that tear duct. And so now, coming here from the horizontal center line to construct the bottom eyelid, we're going to do essentially the same thing. We're going to take and we're going to translate a point from the bottom of the iris, and we are going to connect down. And then from there, we're going to curve up and connect to that tear duct. And that creates the shape of the bottom lid. So these are the inner openings of the eye. Let's go ahead and place the actual lids themselves. Now to do that, what I'm going to do is from this point right here where the bottom of the eyelid hits the iris, I'm going to divide the space from here to the top of the eyeball in half, and that represents the upper border of the upper eyelid. And so now, remember, we're dealing with a sphere here, so we're going to curve these lines and we're going to follow the shape of that sphere. We're going to go all the way down like this. Now don't worry about this point. We're gonna smooth this line out when we add the graphite. So here again, what we're going to do is from the bottom of the iris to the bottom of the eyeball, we're going to divide that space in half, and starting here at the bottom, we're going to connect up just like that. And so this gives us the right proportion, the right shape for the opening of the eye and the placement of the eyelids. So now if we come back in with our graphite pencil, what we're going to do is we're going to start on this bottom eyelid. We're just going to smooth out that high point. Just like that. And we're going to stop when we hit the circle, because you can see that border of the circular eyeball. So we're going to bring this line down, and then we're going to pick up that underlying circle for the eyeball. So let's go ahead and darken up this lower lid. Okay, now on the lower lid, you can see the boundary of that lid. There's a little lip here. And so we're just going to follow that first line that we've made. And we're going to follow that curve around right up till about the center point of the eye. And then we're going to start tapering it back into that original line. And here on the top lid, we're going to do just a little line that comes out so that we can indicate that the lower border of this eyelid is visible. And then we're going to follow that original line and blend it out and connect it into the bottom line right about at the same point that we used to represent the high point of the eyelid. Now all we need to do is darken the lids themselves, the top boundary of the lid, and the bottom boundary of the lid. So let's go ahead and do some shading here so that we can see what we've got. I'm going to go ahead and put a nice big square highlight right here, just because it's going to look nice. And then let's go ahead and darken up the pupil. And the outside border of the iris. Okay, so I want to talk about the most appropriate way to shade the eye. In most cases, the light source that is illuminating a face is coming somewhere from above. And when that's the case, this lid has thickness, and so it actually casts a shadow on the eyeball itself. So in most photographs of an eyeball or of a person, what you'll see is there's a big shadow shape right here that the lid casts on the iris. And it's actually darker and deeper and bigger here because the iris is inset and we've got that lens that covers it. And so it's actually a deeper space, and so the shadow is bigger. And so you're always going to see, whenever the light source is from above or even from the front really, you're going to see this shadow on the iris. So now we're going to go ahead and darken this outside border just a bit. And we're going to darken right up against the pupil itself just a little bit, leaving a white space between the two values that we're laying in. And then we're going to create the little muscle striations of the iris itself. By the way, the lines in the eyes, that's what that is. That's the striations of the muscles in the iris. Alright, so now let's go ahead and lay a value here to represent the shadow that the eyelid is casting on the eyeball itself. And we can do the same over here. Now remember that the eyeball itself is a sphere, and so as it starts to round into the eye socket itself, it's got a little shadow, just like a ball would have. And then over here, the shadow is usually just a little stronger. I'm going to smooth this out with my finger just a little bit. By the way, it's outside the bounds of the actual anatomy lessons that we're learning here, but smoothing with your finger on a real drawing that you're working on is not best practice. It's one of the fastest ways to actually get a nice smooth blend, but the oils from your finger soak into the paper and make it difficult to overwork those areas if you need to. Now, since what we're doing here is study pages in an effort to learn anatomy, it's not such a big deal, but I really wouldn't recommend it as a general practice. Alright, so let's put a little shadow on the back part of this lid. And as it curves down here, we're going to go ahead and finish out this line. I'll put a little shadow here. And here. And that is how you put the eyelids on the eyeball.